All right, class, so this is our review for the Unit 1 test. Realize this, I've crossed out some of the material on here that we didn't cover yet, but we will eventually cover it. We're just going to cover it again in a different unit. So we're still going to cover everything, but just do the ones that are not crossed out, okay? Now listen, this review is going to go into a little deeper some of the concepts that we learned in the last 2 weeks. But don't freak out. Remember, you can use this on your test, so I think you'll be fine. All right, so first one we're going to do is number 3, comparing rational numbers. We're going to convert to decimals and then compare. Well, the first one, 3.2, is already as a decimal. The second one, we're going to take the square root of 9.5, and that gives us 3.08. So it's no longer that, it's 3.08. So now you just say which one's greater? 3.2. So it'd be really hard to look at that and know which one was greater, but when we convert them both to decimals, it makes it a little easier. Next, we're gonna do 1 1/2 into a decimal. Remember, use your double arrow button. That's gonna give us 1.5, so it's now 1.5. And then the square root of 3, double arrow, is 1.73. So that one's greater. All right, so this will say 3.2 is greater than 3.08. 1.5 is less than 1.73. Next, we've got a bunch of numbers here that wants us to put them in from least to greatest, in order from least to greatest. Well, the first thing we're gonna do is put them into decimal form. The first one's already done for you in decimal form. So next we're gonna do 4 1/3, and that gives us 4.33. I would go to 2 decimal places just to be sure. The next we need to do is the square root of 43. Oop, I did that wrong. Turn it to a decimal, 6.56 we'll call it. And then next we're going to do 12 over 3. Well, that goes to 4 right there. So now we need to find the smallest number out of all these, and it looks like it's 4. So that'll be first. Cross that one out. We're finished with it. Got 3 numbers left. Looks like 4.13 is next. So we're going to do 4.13. 4.33 is next. Notice how I cross out as I use them so I don't use them twice or get mixed up. And then 6.56, so that's it, all right? Because we're gonna talk about this in class over the test too, so I'm gonna kind of zip through this, but pay attention, watch the whole video, and then get your answers. All right, so round to the nearest hundred. So that's 2 decimal places. So I need the square root of 45, and that turns into 3 radical 5, or 3 square root of 5, and that turns into 6.08. I'm going to write 6.708, but I want to go to this spot right here. So this number right here is going to push that up to 6.71. That's your final answer. Next, let's do 17 over 18. Let's go ahead and hit our double arrow button and enter, and that gives us 0.9. I'm going to write it out, 0.944. I'm trying to go to this spot right here. This 4 right here is less than 5, tells me to leave that alone. So we're going to make it 0.94. So here's a little tip for you over here. Kind of, again, you'll be able to use this. So refer back to it. It's going to tell you how to round, okay? Next, we're going to the thousandths place. So that's 3 places past the decimal. Don't forget that negative out front. So we're going to do negative, create our fraction, 3 over 16, turn that to a decimal. Oh, and I messed up. I need to do -3, and I did 2 negatives. Okay, I'm struggling here. Bear with me. I need negative fraction, 3 over 16. I'm gonna hit enter and then double arrow, and that gives me negative 0.1875, and I want to go to this spot right here. So this 5 is going to make that turn into an 8. So it's going to be negative 0.188. So there's my final answer. And then next, let's do the square root of 7. That gives us 2.645. We're trying to get to this spot right here. So that's 7. It's going to bump that up to a 6. So it's 2.646. All right, next, let me get resituated here. So next section, we're simplifying a radical. So remember, we can do the square root of 24 in our calculator. That's going to give me 2 square root of 6. So I know my final answer is going to have 2 and the square root of 6. And I'm going to leave some space because I'm probably going to have to find something to do with this x and this y. So remember, we're going to take the exponent and divide it by 2. So for the x's, the exponent is 2. And that gives me 1. That tells me how many x's I need on the outside, x to the first power. You don't have to write the 1, I'm just doing it so you'll see what I'm talking about. Next, we're going to do the exponent of the y. So that I'm going to do 5 divided by 2. I'm always going to divide by 2. This 2 right here tells me how many I pull out. So I pull out y to the second. And the fact that I have a 0.5 just tells me to leave 1 in. So I'm finished. All right, so let's do the next one now. Square root of 48, x to the third, y to the fourth. Again, the number part of it I can do in my calculator. And that gives me 4 radical 3, and I left a little space because I'm going to have to do something with these numbers. Or I'm sorry, with these letters, x and y. So the first one I do is that 3 for the x. I'm going to do 3 divided by 2. Remember, you divide by 2 every time. This gives me 1. That's how many I'll pull out. 0.5 tells me leave 1 under the house. So basically that's a half. 0.5 is a half, so I need half of my pair to stay under the house. All right, next I'm going to take this exponent of 4 on the y, divide it by 2. And that gives me 2. That's how many I pull out. I don't have a 0.5, so I don't put any under the house. And I'm done. Next, we're adding and subtracting radicals. So I'll fix this. We're not going to do number 20. We're going to do number 21. I don't want these exponents in number 20. So the one on the test will be more like 21, not 20. All right, so 21. I need 3 square root of 18. Now here's a little trick we haven't talked about yet. I can't put my minus in there yet because I'm still under the house. So I've got to scroll to get out under the house. And then it's minus second square root of 32. So again, I'm still under the house. I need to get out from underneath the house and then do plus 5 square root of 2. And my final answer is 10 radical 2. So really that's just some practice punching things into a calculator, really nothing else, okay? So same thing on the next two. We're not going to do 23 because I don't want exponents in there. Again, we're going to get to those later, but not right now. All right, so we're going to punch this one into our calculator, see what we get. Again, just kind of practicing on our calculator. Negative 3, square root of 5, and then I need to get out from underneath the house and put my multiplication. So this is multiplication, same thing as that x right there. And then I need 2 radical 30 and hit enter. And that gives me negative 30 radical 6. So it doesn't look like that would be the answer, but trust your calculator. You punch it in right, it's going to give you the right answer. All right? And then the last two, I think I'm going to do another video because those two are going to take a little bit longer, and I don't want to have to take so long to download. So get to number 22 on this one, then your next video will show you how to do 24 and 25.